My research for the archetype of the Gorgon has left me depressed, but also very curious. She hints at so much about the fall of women from our status among the gods. All the symbolism of the ancient goddess is in her, the wings that carry her, the snakes that are her deepest sources of wisdom, the triple aspect, for there were 3 Gorgons, all sisters, at least in many of the myths. These ancient symbols of female divinity were made terrifying in the Gorgon. They had bloated faces with protruding tongues, their faces like the faces of rotting human corpses, terrifying and gruesome, turning humans to stone from how horrifying they were to behold. One legend has them as 3 sisters, with the most famous Gorgon, Medusa, being the only one that was mortal, thus setting her up for her eventual murder by Perseus. Another, more upsetting legend has Medusa as a beautiful virgin employed as a priestess in the temple of the noble virgin goddess Athena. Medusa's beauty got her much harassment from men who sought to get her to give her maidenhood to them, but she rebuked them all. Unfortunately, the poor girl Medusa caught the attention of Poseidon, who raped her. In typical patriarchal fashion, Medusa was made to pay for the crime of having been raped by a male. She lost her position as priestess at the temple, and then was transformed into the Gorgon, so you can see the sadness of her story, a young girl raped, victim blamed, and then turned into a monster. She could have no human contact for comfort in her traumatized state, as anyone who looked at her would be turned to stone. She's a creature that inspires such pity in the heart, destined to meet her end at the hand of the young Perseus, trying to save his own mother from the fate of a forced marriage to a man she detested. In Medusa's solitude, she had the hissing voices of her snakes whispering to her. They would warn her when danger approached, and they were her only company. The Greeks saw the Gorgon as a monster. Her face was often displayed above ovens to scare young children from approaching. They warned children that they would be given over to the Gorgons if they were naughty. The reason that I'm talking about the Gorgon as a feminist archetype is because I see them as a fierce manifestation of female volcanic rage. It is the fierce and frightening promise of the truest power, our ability to stop men in their tracks, literally turning them to stone when they threaten our safety. Channeling this archetype can be a very positive experience. We connect ourselves with the ancient serpent goddess who whispers all knowledge to us, removing us from ignorance. She helps us step into our own divinity. This is also a dangerous archetype, for she is often channeled for protection. The Gorgon is terrifying to men. When you are faced with male danger, mentally envision yourself becoming the Gorgon. See your hair mat into strands of venomous snakes. Feel your face bloat, distort, and become monstrous. Feel your wings pull out from their resting place within your torso. Feel yourself as a truly dangerous and monstrous creature. As I said, channeling the Gorgon is a dangerous kind of process. You only want to do this if you feel comfortable with possibly being destructive. The Gorgon within is one of the archetypes that I feel channels the essential demonic feminine, which I've written about on my blog before. Essentially, this is female destructive power in its greatest, and it's not a power to be tapped into lightly. It is something that you have to be, willing to go all the way with. I've had many women, like when I wrote about this topic before, speak to me about circumstances where they were interacting with men where they just channeled this energy. And they didn't necessarily have words like I'm kind of putting to it, like channeling your inner Gorgon or whatever. But they talked about like how they felt the presence of male danger and how in their mind they saw themselves getting bigger and bigger, and like they had the mental thought and feeling like I'm gonna fucking murder you, like, and it does help in circumstances where you feel unsafe to be in this mindset. If you sense danger from men, it is a very good thing to get into touch with immediately. Like, oftentimes attackers will not come at you if they feel that you are going to be a threat to them. They look for those who will be easy targets. So don't make yourself an easy target if you are in a public space as a female and you sense that there's male danger around. It is an important thing to do. I mean, I've done this before as well when I've felt my safety threatened by a male, and whether they are necessarily going to pose a threat to you, I mean, who can really say? But, as all feminists know, all men pose a threat to women. So it's important to be safer than sorry. But yeah, in order to like get in touch with this, I think it's important to do like a meditation with this archetype. Again, see yourself kind of becoming the Gorgon. You can think of circumstances in your own life where you've been victimized and unfairly blamed for it, or made to pay for things that weren't your fault. I think all women have experienced this to a certain extent, whether they're necessarily victims of rape or not. As you like see yourself being transformed into this monster of like male terror, and you get kind of comfortable with it, and you get kind of like, okay, this is a part of me, this is a part of who I am as a woman. You can like really tap into it a lot quicker. And it's really an important thing to do because, like I said, there's always the threat of male danger that women face. And also it's important to honor like these archetypes as a part of ourselves. Like the Gorgon was a monster in ancient Greek mythology, but she also is a leftover or a transformation of an earlier type of goddess that was worshipped and venerated. So when we get in touch with her, we get in touch with all sorts of aspects of our truest selves and of our highest divinity. The light and the dark, the good and the bad, the destructive and the creative. So much of like Hermetic philosophy relies on this patriarchal gender shit that is, well, important to understand because it is how most magic is practiced. It's important to understand that women can be magical outside of this process, and that when we do learn these things and then step out of them and actually get in touch with, what destruction looks like from a female angle, we can really become a lot more mentally powerful and like spiritually, psychically powerful. So yeah, this is just my interpretation of the Gorgon archetype. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe if you want to hear more archetypes and all manner of interesting feminist themed videos from me.